Thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Let's bring in former Red Wing great, the center of the legendary grind line, and currently the director of amateur scouting for the Detroit Red Wings, Kris Draper. Kris, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Art. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You know, you've had a week to digest the draft. Now that you look back on it, how different of an experience was it for you compared to other drafts you participated in?
I mean, obviously, this was the first draft that I was, basically, running and in charge, and I had two, obviously a great scouting staff. My chief amateur scouts, Jesse Wallen and Ryan Rozmierski, and then director of European amateur scouting, Håkan Anderson. They were incredible. Basically this whole year, and especially over with the shutdown, over the last 6 months of gathering information, going over lists, talking about players, interviewing players, reevaluating lists, reevaluating players. It was a great process, but you know what? It definitely is different, and I think for my first draft and having as many picks as we had, it was busy, and especially in the second round. Obviously, we started off day two, and then there's a lot of moving parts. Some players going off the board. That's just the way the draft is, and we kind of had to adjust on the fly there. But overall, we're happy and pleased with the way that the draft went, and time will tell. We drafted 17 and 18-year-old prospects, and there's now they know that there's a lot of work to be done for them to go from being a prospect to being a Red Wing. But with that said, our player development staff is outstanding with Sean Horkoff, Dan Cleary, Nicholas Cronwall, and Brendan Arado.
Well, the reason I ask is because it seemed the setup. I know you had a room, and you were sitting there with some of the people. I know Steve was quarantining himself, so he was at his house. I assume you had guys in other places in the world, because usually you're all sitting at one table with a big card that has the Red Wing logo, and you're able to talk. So it didn't really hinder anything. It was just the logistics were a little different, but you were still able to pretty much have all the conversations you needed to have. There was no breakdown in communication.
No, absolutely not. Our IT department did a fantastic job. We had for the entire, basically for the entire first round, we had everyone on Microsoft Teams call. I had, some of our scouts in the room, but the majority of our scouts were on the Microsoft Teams call, and obviously, like you said, with Stevie back home. So that was obviously different, but he was right there the entire time, being able to communicate, being able to discuss players. It was certainly unique, just kind of like everything has been over the last 6 months. But there was never any issue whatsoever. And anytime we discussed a player, anytime we were going to make a selection, I had the entire staff on a Teams call, and we would discuss that before we ended up making that final selection. So no problems at all, no glitches. Everything worked perfect.
When and I'll stop geeking out. We'll get into some of the picks here. But Steve made 4 moves that day. When he's making moves, how soon are you prepared to pick? And then he calls and says, all right, hey, I traded down, picked up another pick, so we're not picking right now. Does that really happen very, very quickly?
It did go quick, but like I said, we had the Microsoft Teams call up and running the entire time. So we were kind of, had my list right there, had our list right there, and we're kind of looking as things are going up. And, the discussion was if a player is selected before, do you want to trade back and acquire another pick? So, Stevie was right there. He was hands-on. He was communicating. We had no problems at all with that. So that's pretty well how that went through. So, like I said, a little different than what it would be in person as you're sitting there, and obviously phones are ringing, or Stevie's walking up and talking to other general managers, and some things are coming. But my job was to be prepared, to make the pick. until something else happened. And, that's kind of, that's what I was supposed to do. Stay focused, stay true to the list. And if I was ready to pick, I was going to select a player. And if we were going to trade back, then, I'd be ready to, to move back and then be ready to go when it's our time to pick a player.
Let's look into the draft here. 6 forwards, 5 defensemen, and 1 goaltender in the 12 picks that the Red Wings had in the NHL draft. Starting off with Lucas Raymond, a high-end forward. I remember being at the Summer Showcase last summer, and he and Lafreniere, I guess, were like the talk. Everybody came to see specifically those 2 players. I know he played in the men's league, probably didn't get as much ice time as he was hoping for. I'm kind of curious, Kris, from what I've heard is that at the end of the day, when you guys had your talks and the 4 or 5 players you were really looking at, it always came back to Lucas Raymond. What about Lucas Raymond made you pick him 4th overall?
You know what? We think we have, one heck of a hockey player, a very intelligent hockey player, very passionate. The one thing that Håkan Andersson, when he describes Lucas Raymond, he really talks about his inner drive. Lucas is a prospect that really believes in himself. He holds himself to a high standard. The things that I liked, and his underage year was fantastic. He was going, head to head with obviously a lot of the top players, especially that USA 01 development team was probably the best in the history of the program, and Lucas Raymond was right there with all those guys as an underage. So I think that was something that I kept coming back to, and every time we watched him, his underage year, the bigger the game, the bigger the moment, it seemed, he rose, to the occasion, and nothing, you go to the gold medal game, his underage year in Sweden. He ends up getting a hat trick and obviously the OT winning goal, which is something pretty special for a 17-year-old to do. He did have it was a tough year last year. There's no doubt about it. And Lucas would be the first one to say that was the case. But it was a huge learning experience for him. He had to face adversity. There was some tough nights where he didn't play. There was some nights where I was there when, for basically 2.5 periods, he didn't get a lot of ice time. And then, all of a sudden in the final 10 minutes, you saw some special things that he could do. So we feel that we have a high-skilled player. We're big fans of his hockey sense and the way he thinks the game. And he has the ability to make players around him better. That's what we kept coming back to.
In the second round, with the first pick of the second round, so I like to say first round A, William Wallander, again, projected maybe even to be in the first round. I would imagine, I know you have options every time you pick, but was he almost a no-brainer when you saw he was there at 32?
You know what? We were excited. We have a 6'4" defenseman. That's a really good skater, can really skate with the puck, moves the puck well. The thing with William is, definitely like a lot of kids his size, he has to continue to get bigger and stronger. But, you just kind of look through, the NHL and obviously the teams that are coming. There's a lot of teams that, build, size on the back end. And we were able to get, a defender, that's a very good skater with good size. And so exactly like you said, I mean, you sit there and you want to talk about every pick. You want to talk about, every scenario. But in the end, starting the day of day 2, we felt that William was going to be a good fit for what we're building with the Detroit Red Wings, especially building on the back end with the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, up next, and I don't know what it is about this. The more I read about him, the more I like him. Your next pick, you went with Theodor Niederbach, and I know he was hurt for almost an entire season, but since he's come back from injury, he has just been fantastic, number one. And Steve said something interesting when talking about him. Sometimes, I guess in the past, you might pass on an injured player, but he's learned that regardless if they're injured or not, if they're healthy, that injury shouldn't play a factor. So I would assume that wasn't a factor for you. You saw him available, and bam, you grabbed him.
Yeah, I mean, part of my job is to really find out about all these prospects. And Håkan Andersson and Thomas Carlson, our Swedish scouts over there, did an unbelievable job gathering information about the injury. I talked to our team doctors about it. And then we were asking about, in the gym, on the ice, is there any restrictions at all? And he was able to go full on with his training. So we were getting nothing but positive reports back from Theodor Niederbach. Going in last year to Sweden and watching, Frölunda, the men's team, and then obviously the opportunity to watch Frölunda on the J20 team. And, like you said, very, very high skilled centerman, right shot centerman. He can really think the game, and he's playing catch up right now to a lot of his peers. A lot of his prospects are the same age after missing a year of hockey. But he's off to a great start. He's a player that wants the puck on a stick. He can make plays in tight. He can really think the game, and we're looking at a highly skilled center, a position that certainly we wanted to continue to add on. So once again, Håkan Andersson and Thomas Karlsson were real big fans of Theodor Niederbach. So as we're sitting there and as we're discussing, we just kept talking about getting skill, getting hockey sense, getting smart hockey players, getting competitive hockey players, and a centerman. And it just kind of made sense for us to make that selection.
I know we're running out of time, unfortunately, but I really wanted to ask you about a couple of more players and then maybe get a final overview about the draft and what's up next for you. But Jan Bednash, or Bednar, depending, I guess, on what part of the world you're from. But that goaltender, I was stunned he was available when you picked him at 107, I believe, overall. Many reports had him as maybe perhaps the best goaltender. And I know goaltenders it's tough to gauge, but were you surprised that he was there? And again, I hate to use this expression, but another no-brainer. We needed a goaltender. Everyone assumed Detroit was going to take a goaltender. And lo and behold, you get maybe the best one on the board.
Yeah, we were excited. And you know what, Art, you just never know how the draft is going to go. And that's the one thing that I certainly learned this year. Everyone talks about how unpredictable it is, and you're not sure what, for us, what the other 30 teams, are thinking on draft day and on their board. With Phil O'Sear, who does our goaltending scouting and development, we had a lot of conversations with him. The two best games I saw him play were against Team USA, and both times he was excellent. Big goalie, athletic goalie. The one thing that it's tough right now. He's kind of not sure where he's going to be able to play this year, with obviously the borders closing. He was supposed to come over and play in the CHL, so hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. But Phil O'Sear's been in contact with him, a lot, and kind of discussing what the plan is going forward. But he's very excited to be part of the Detroit Red Wing organization. We talked about having, to me, the greatest goaltender of all time, Dominik Hasek, obviously from the Czech Republic, his home country. And the one thing, that we keep talking about with, Dom was a guy, his practice habits were off the charts. He was unbelievable. He's the most competitive player that I practice with. And those are the conversations that we're having with Jan. And that's what we expect from him, to have those type of practice habits. So it's been great. The communication has been great. We've talked, Yuri Fisher has talked to him, Vladimir Havlui, our Czech scout, have talked to him. We've talked to the family, and they're so thrilled and excited to be part of the Detroit Red Wing organization. And, we drafted a 6'4" goaltender who we were very high on.
I have to ask you about this young man. I can remember him being a little guy with that flaming red hair, walking around the Red Wing room at different stages in his life. Kris Draper, I know it's been a week or so. Just how cool was that, Kris? Being able to say your son's name.
It was very special. I'm real proud of Keenan and the work that he's put in. And when you start talking about, what a Detroit Red Wing is, and that's what we're doing. We're educating all the prospects that we drafted right now. And Keenan grew up in that environment. He saw his dad of how passionate, and to this day, how passionate I am to be a Detroit Red Wing, as a former player and now obviously director of amateur scouting. So it was a great day. And Keenan has really, put the work in. He's almost 6'2" right now. He's 193 pounds. He's playing out in Chilliwack, BC. And the thing that I'm most proud of everything is, just the passion that he has for the game of hockey. And then obviously the passion he has for the Detroit Red Wing organization. So I'm proud of him. I know, he's going to continue to put the work in. He's going to do everything he can and go above and beyond. And, it was obviously a real special day for myself and a real special day for my family as well.
Well, certainly, I think we're all excited about it. Continued. I know. Hey, I know you. I mean, I know you work 24/7, 365. So continue grinding it away. No pun intended there too. Grinding away, but but Kris, thanks for your time. We always appreciate it. Best of luck in everything, and congratulations to you, and congratulations to Keenan for being drafted into the NHL. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thanks, Art. I appreciate it. And, back to you and all the listeners, everyone stay safe and stay healthy, okay? And as always, go Wings.
Definitely go Wings. That'll do it for this edition of The Headliner, presented by Miller Lite. It is the original light beer. It's only 96 calories. It tastes delicious, and it's available for delivery. Daniela, back to you.